Yo, hey, what's up, guys? Hey, Coachy here. I am very excited for tonight. We have a very special live interview with my good friend and mentor, Jason Cobb. We're going to talk specifically about building sustainable habits for success. This is something that you do not want to miss, and it involves us reviewing the book called Atomic Habits by James Clear. I'm going to go ahead and pull Jason on now. We'll go through a quick introduction and then start our interview. Boom! I'm excited. Can you guys tell I'm excited? I'm excited. Here he is. Waiting. Boom. There he is. What's up, Jason?
All right, how are you, sir?
Oh, man, I'm doing great.
Yeah.
How are you doing,
Man,
Jason?
I've got my evening cup of coffee. That's one of my habits to make sure that I'm successful. And so I'm ready to go.
Perfect. Now, for those of you who do not know who Jason Cobb is a great, everyone should know, by the way. If you don't know, you'll definitely know tonight. Jason's the man. Jason has been a great friend of mine, a mentor of mine for the past 4 years.
We go back.
And the reason why I'm so well connected with Jason has a special place in my heart. The reason why is because Jason, he has taught me these habits to exponentially take my personal and my professional life to success that I would never dreamed of. For example, just a quick example, all right? So for example, I had my dreams to take Tandem Nutrition full-time at the first of 2018.
Yes.
So January 1st of 18, I met Jason, and so I had a year planned out to take this business full-time. I met Jason, and 3 months later, Jason had me on my own. It is through these habits, through daily disciplines that help me so much in my daily life. And tonight, I just could not be more excited to go over this book, these habits, with you, Jason.
Yeah, you know what I find really interesting too is, I don't think you're too proud to admit this, but you have not been a real big reader in your life. Is that right? I mean, that was something that we talked about a lot. And you read this book, what, 3-4 months ago? And since then, I could probably count on one hand the number of days that you haven't read since then. And James Clear talks a whole lot about reading is like a mega habit. Reading is a habit that transcends all the other ones and just multiplies all the rest of them. And, you know, I feel that myself. So I listen to a lot of the books, and sometimes I read them on paper, but you know, we have both been impacted by this book a lot, and we're just really excited to share about it.
Yeah. And just to piggyback off that, Jason, you mentioned something we do every single day. You know, so someone who's excited about creating a habit, and you know, from what we were told, it takes 21 days to make a habit, to keep that habit, to build this habit. What does this book tell us, and what do you understand about how long it takes to build a habit to stick to it?
You know, so there's lots of different science articles and studies and things like that, scientific studies about how long a habit takes to stick. Some say 21 days, some say 2 months, some say 6 months or a year. I've read them longer than that. James Clear tends to stick to just a little bit over 2 months, but the point is not so much, you know, if you're waiting for day 66, which is what he says, and you know, you check day 66 and you think you've done it, ooh, all too often that's not it, right? Because it's really about focusing on the system and getting it ingrained in you so you don't even start to think about it anymore. A little bit later, we're going to talk about priming your environment to support you through the habits that you want to build. So, you know, but generally it's a process, right? And we've talked before, you're going to fall off the wagon every once in a while. You're going to have those days where you're not firing on all cylinders, and you just dust yourself off and you keep going, and you know, you just keep building and building and building.
Great, I love that. Great explanation. So let's say that we have someone who's working towards weight loss. They've established this habit to have breakfast every morning, and they're doing a great job. They're on day like 75. What are some ways that with anyone with any habit, what are some easy things they can do to maintain good habits for continued success long term?
Yeah, so let's talk about why habits are important, right? And so one of the things that James Clear really hits hard on is you should be far more concerned with your trajectory rather than your results. and I know this is big, big, big in the fitness world, right? We can get bogged down. I know I get bogged down by what that scale says. And sometimes my coach gets on my back by what that scale says, right? But we should be far more concerned with what direction we're going. And so that's exactly really what habits are, building strong habits are all about, is that those small things that add up to big things in the future, right? Choices determine the difference between who you are and who you can be.
Oh, that is powerful, Jason.
Yeah.
That is powerful.
You know, some of those phrases, they get in your skin. And once they get lodged in there, they can really make a big difference, right? Choices determine the difference between who you are and who you can be. And so what Atomic Habits is all about is building these choices, right? And so if you want to eat breakfast every day, how are you going to do that, right? Because you get what you repeat. And so even the book talks about, what's the title of it? Atomic Habits. So these are small things that add up to big things, right? And so there are some other books that are in this space as well. Duhigg's The Power of Habit. That's a real good one, and kind of goes hand in hand with this one here. And Duhigg talks about the habit loop. And James Clear talks about a habit. I don't know if he calls it a loop or not. I forget, but there's 4 steps, right? So there's the cue or the trigger. That's the thing that prompt you to do it, right? And so then there's the craving. So once you hear that cue, think back to Pavlov's dog, you know, the bell, and all of a sudden I start salivating, right? Like I might see some of those bags of hot, flaming nacho Doritos. I want some already. Woo!
Yeah.
You know, and so that's the craving. And then you have the response, which is the actual habit itself, the thing that you're doing itself. And then you have the reward. So there's positive and negative habits, right? We have habits on both sides, don't we? Right? So there are times where I might pass by that bag of chips and grab it instinctively. That's a bad habit, as somebody has told me over and over and over again, right? Am I right?
That's
true.
That is true.
And so we have positive habits and we have negative habits. And so you can use this cycle to build a positive one, or you can use this cycle to make to be a negative one. Garrett, which one do you want to start with, the positive or the negative?
You know what? I'm all about building the new.
Building the new.
So let's talk about how to make them more attractive, how to sustain good habits.
Yeah, okay. And you want to go with that example of eating breakfast in the morning, a good healthy breakfast?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right. And so step 1 is the cue or the trigger, right? And so you might not be in the habit of eating breakfast, or you might be in the habit of eating a bad breakfast. Let's say you're in the habit of not eating breakfast. So you need to build a cue, and the environment starts to build into this, like we talked about earlier, that prompts you to do it, right? Mm-hmm. And so you may not have to pass through your kitchen to leave in the morning. So maybe you have to keep your keys in the kitchen from now on. Maybe you have to put your shoes in the kitchen, something to get you in there, right? Now, maybe you already have to pass through the kitchen, and if you're going to have maybe a couple of eggs and a protein drink, right? You might set that blender bottle right on the counter where you can't, maybe you put your keys in the blender bottle, right?
There you go. Yeah, make it very obvious.
That's right. Make it very obvious. That's the cue and that's the trigger. And then you have the craving, right? And so you can start some of these things, like you can let's be real, right? If your protein drink tastes like butt, you're not going to want to drink it, right? So you're going to find ways to get out of drinking it. So why don't we find one that tastes good? Can we do that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So let's make it attractive, appealing, right? And then you do it, right? And so you know this, and you've talked about this a lot. Finding ways to make things easy so that when you're in the moment, you don't have this big, huge thing, right? And then you have the reward, and some of that's our self-talk about, hey, I just did something great, nice work, you know. And sometimes it's the feeling of, hey, I just had this nice smoothie that I like. or I just had these eggs that I like, right? And so it's the cue, the craving, the response, and the reward. And all too often, like lots of things, it's about planning. It's about planning. It's about saying, when this happens, I will do this. Yeah, do you remember that?
Yeah, it's almost like habit stacking, which he talks about.
Yeah,
right?
it is. And that gets into that too. And, so it says, when I wake up, I will eat breakfast. And more specifically than that, though, I'm going to think through. When I wake up, I'm going to go to the kitchen, and I'm going to get a smoothie, and I'm going to drink it. Right? And it's thinking through, what is it that I need to do to accomplish that? And designing this environment. All too often, we float through life, and we're just bouncing from one thing to the next. We need to design things. We need to be intentional and active about what's happening to us and what we're going to do. We need to be dressed for action. And so
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
So essentially, making that habit not only obvious but attractive, and also making it in a perspective where you get a reward from doing so. So, and also I can see the importance of planning long term, even short term for these. For example, the night before, maybe even making that, and you put in your fridge. So there goes so removing every obstacle possible to make this habit successful and easy. So you can just carry it out and have it done on plan, on time, and just crush it. Because as you and I both know, like, I thrive off those ones, Jason. Now, people, they don't know what the ones are, but small wins, man, small wins just gives you an indescribable amount of energy that you can't get off of caffeine. Dude, it's small wins are so powerful.
Yeah,
Jason.
now you know as well as I do, I love caffeine. But Garrett, you're right. It's much more powerful than that. And I tell you, and let's do the reverse of it, right? And so sometimes at night, some of my challenges, Jason Cobb here, some of my challenges are those flaming hot nacho Doritos at 9 o'clock at night.
Yes.
Right? So
Yeah,
you
sure.
don't have to agree so strongly, Garrett.
Okay, I'm just saying. I'm trying to get our audience to relate to you, because I know I'm guilty too. I do pancakes at 2 in the morning.
Yeah,
so
sometimes you do. Yeah, we see that. So so let's just run through that same loop real quick. So on the negative habits, things we want to cut, let's talk about the trigger. Make it invisible. So what's the easiest way to do that? Don't buy the dang
Don't
chips.
buy it. Do not buy the chips.
Do not buy the chips.
Pancake batter, do not have in the house. That's the
Easiest way.
Love it.
Right? Okay, but let's say I need for this situation, I need the chips for a party tomorrow. Okay? So what am I gonna do? So put them up. Right? Or maybe I stay on the top level of my house. As soon as I get tired and I know that my willpower is going down, I need to proactively be ready for that. Then on the craving, make it unattractive. Now this is hard for me because flaming hot nacho Doritos are delicious, but I can tie it in to say, hey, if I do that, I am not the type of person who is serious about his goals. That's not who I want to be.
Or you can say, every time I do that, I'm gonna do 100 push-ups or go run 2 miles out in the snow. Therefore, that is by having, and this is very important to have an accountability partner too. I'll be asking you, hey, you had chips? Great. Did you run 2 miles in the snow?
Right.
Then you need to get back and go. So anyway, yes, there's something else I'm going to say too. Oh, what a great example in the book about breaking bad habits and building good ones was how he had like chips and stuff around the house, but then he had like the study was done. It had fruit on the table. So if anyone watching this is having any type of difficult time eating more fruits and vegetables, have them around the home, cut up, sliced up in the fridge, and see them, because you're gonna eat them. You're gonna eat them, right? That's why I have all my counters. It's clean because so anyway.
And make it the dang fruits that you like, right? If you're not a big fan of bananas, don't just go and buy a bunch of bananas because it's easy. Make it the ones that you really like. So, but you mentioned habit stacking. I think this is so powerful. Okay, and so habit stacking is we all have habits left and right, right? And some of it's as simple as, hey, I'm standing in line, I'm going to pull up Facebook, or I wake up in the morning, I'm going to go make coffee, right? So we have these habits already all through our lives, all through our days. And so habit stacking is about implanting, attaching something new to this existing cycle, right? So using that other example, if I wake up and get coffee every single day, right? And that's what I do every single day. Then I'm going to do a little habit stack. And I'm going to say, when I go reach for that first cup of coffee, I'm going to go grab a cup of water too, and I'm going to drink that first, right? And so I know I'm going to hit that cue. I know I'm going to hit that cue because it's already there. I already know when I wake up, I'm going to go for that cup of coffee. So I'm just going to use that to my advantage, and I'm going to design a way to hook on another beneficial activity to the cues that already exist.
I love that. So just make it a system. Like, for example, what I do in the morning is I have coffee every morning, and I have creatine that I always put in my coffee. So
yes.
My habits are take creatine, then take your supplements. So they're all in one spot in the cabinet. So I know that when I have coffee, the creatine's closed, and so are the supplements, and that's an easy win right off the bat. I'm not sure if you noticed this, but as you do this so many times, Jason, have you noticed that you don't really need to look at a sheet, a chart, or anything? You just kind of know exactly. It's almost like automatic. You just don't think, you just do.
Yeah, that's true. And there are things, we'll talk a little bit later about recording your habits, because that is something that can reinforce those. And sometimes you can use it. Maybe you don't need it to do it, but you still are proud about it, and so you can still record it. So one of the habits I have that now is really ingrained is when I'm shaving in the mornings, I still shave all the way up here. It's hard to do, whatever. And so I listen to the Bible. So I go through the New Testament from Matthew to Revelation, and I just rotate that in. So every morning I listen to 2 or 3 chapters of that. And now it's so ingrained. I pick up that razor. If the Bible's not already playing, like, it feels weird. Like, it just feels weird. And that's what we're going for. Is where these cues are so strong, it just is natural. And that's kind of what you're talking about.
Like the new norm.
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And when we were talking earlier, you were talking about your some of your declarations in the morning. I thought that was a really powerful example. Do you want to share that with the group?
Yeah, so in the morning, so one thing, so what's interesting, so Jason, as I mentioned, is a mentor of mine, and if I could go back like 10 years in time, I would put more trust in people, like if someone who's like very successful, like your mentor Jason is, and if they're doing something, it's probably a good idea to at least try it. And I have not tried the cold showers yet. I mean, I tried it. I will not.
We're going to talk about that on your call in the morning, by the way. Have you been looking at the agenda already? Have you been reading my mind? That's on the agenda for tomorrow.
I haven't created it yet.
Anyways.
I'm not going to do it. Anyway, so at the beginning of the year, I listened to a lot of Craig Rochelle in the Leadership podcast, and he kept going over and over these declarations. I'm like, okay, I might as well just give it a try. And then, so I was really, really proud of myself, because one day I just created these declarations and affirmations. I'm like, Jason, look, hey, I started doing this, and it's really changed my morning. Like, I just become super positive, like super fulfilling. I'm just super grateful about life and everything. And then I told Jason's like, yo, I've actually been doing this for like a year now. I'm like, what? Anyway, so going back to the top of the story, I would place these by my bed. Actually, I would place these by my desk first. I'm like, yo, I kind of like walk back and forth and like read it. Then I'm like, you know what? And it's a habit of mine every morning. I get a point for doing this, to read over my declaration and affirmations. Yes. And so to make it as easy as possible, to make it attractive, to make it obvious, I have this piece of paper like inside my little cabinet where my head is. So I get up in the morning, and then I essentially roll over and read it.
There they are.
But then I realized I've actually even I think I told you this, but I actually enhance it a little more. I like to like be vibrant and alive.
Yes.
Energetic. So I go read on the treadmill for 20 minutes, and then after I get done reading, I'm like, yo, I'm pumped up. And so I have my paper of affirmations as a bookmark. So as I read, I'm amped up. Boom, I go over my affirmations, push-ups, and I get to work. So it's
and that's like multi-level stuff right there, right? So we can see that is building your environment and habit stacking in action, right? And so you already were in this habit of reading on the treadmill. Okay, treadmill, boom, reading, boom, declarations, boom, right? Just stacking all those up together. And, we talked about building an environment, designing an environment where doing the right thing is as easy as possible, Okay. There's a couple other things that contribute to that though. One, have a culture, have people around you that
Oh
your
man.
desired behavior is the normal behavior. You hear that?
Man, I wish, you know what, I'll never get tired of hearing that you are like, you take the characteristics of the 5 people that you hang out with, and that couldn't be more true. But yeah, like that. If you can find it, man, I'm just very seeing how my life has changed from like our mentorship and through Scott Stevenson, Matt Timby, and my friends in
Yes.
Ohio. Man, I would not be who I am today without their leadership and their support. So if you guys are looking for some support, accountability too is key. And I will say this one thing. I'll tell you in the morning, but essentially I made a bet with a friend in Michigan. We're both trying to get up in the morning, okay, before 6:30.
Okay.
Because I'm trying to stay until 3. And so I told him every time I get up past 6:30, I'm paying him $5. And for him, he's paying me $20. And that's how we support one another. And at nighttime, we text when I'm like, hey, dude, you in bed? Like, just having those people who had that drive like you do, it can be very, very powerful and happy.
Yeah, and so everybody watching, you heard it here first. Everybody who catches Garrett sleeping in past 6:30 gets $5. So you heard it here first, everybody.
It just gives some reference. 6:30 may seem very late, but like past 3 weeks, I've been up to like 2:30. So this is a big change.
I know it is. I know.
But 11:30, I'm not even on social media anymore, so I'm doing good. 2 days in a row. Let's go.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, and leverage your success. You know, one of the things too, habits are a lot easier to change when you're in a new environment, too. Okay, so sometimes we're just stuck in these ruts. And so sometimes you got to step back and you got to, like you said, maybe you got to rearrange your room. Maybe you got to get all that junk food out of the house, or maybe get, maybe you're on a diet and you're watching what you're eating much more carefully, and your spouse isn't. So they might, kind of be a little bit upset if you go throw all the Flamin' Hot Nacho Doritos out of the house, right? I know I probably would be.
True,
yeah, that's right. That's right. Those suckers aren't cheap. And so sometimes you just got to, meet in the middle and just design a new environment. But back to, having a culture where your desired behavior is the normal behavior. That's what's so important about what you're doing, Garrett, is building a community. You guys that are watching this that are largely in this Tandem Nutrition group, it's so important to be around people who want to do the same types of things that you want to do, that want to be the types of people that you want to be, right? Because it rubs off. Just like you said, you're the average of the 5 people around you. So be around better people. Be around people that are like who you want to be. And that takes us to our last point, identity-based habits. This is, in my opinion, I don't know what you think, Garrett, but in my opinion, this was the secret sauce of the book. This is really where it laid the hammer down, where it talked about true behavior change is an identity change, right? And so if I feel like I am overweight, or I am lazy, or I am financially irresponsible, right? You start implanting in the opposite of those. I am a healthy, fit person. I am a financially responsible person. Right? And it's not mind games. It's not positive thinking or all that type of stuff. What it does is it starts to set in that you need to behave like your identity says you would. Right? And so a healthy, fit person isn't going to eat half a bag or more of Flaming Hot Nacho Doritos every night. They're just not going to do it.
That's a great point.
Right?
Yep.
And a financially sound person is not going to waste their money or not be focused on earning more money, right? And so making sure that you're declaring what you want in advance just is very helpful to get things crystallized, and then it reinforces even subconsciously on what activities you need to do to match that identity that you want to be.
That is very closely tied to having that support group around you, because you can easily identify what they're doing. Maybe start small, some small goals, and work towards kind of what they're doing. And kind of take on some habits that they're doing as well. So I agree. That is, you kind of coached me through this quite a bit. So I have some personal experience from this. So it's very powerful, very, very powerful. But yeah, that was my favorite part of the book. And guys, if you have not read this book yet, please do so. And Jason, I understand your time is valuable. I want everyone to know on this call today where they can hear and learn more from you. I understand you have a weekly, if not bi-monthly, interview or video session. Is that right?
Yeah, so just connect with me on Facebook. It's Jason Cobb. I'm in La Crosse, Wisconsin. I was in Indianapolis for most of my life. And yeah, this is, I just like to encourage people. I like to build people up, because just like what we were talking about, so much of this is I get built up when I build other people up, right? And so I want to be around other positive, engaged, active, thriving people, right? And I know your group has tons of active, thriving, built-up people. I got one more story right before we go. One of the examples I really like. You and I talked about it earlier when we were first reading this book at the turn of the year. It was about the English bicycle team. You remember that story?
Yes, the 1%.
That's right. That's right. And so the English bicycle team had won nothing for 100 years. They were the laughing stock
100 years
of the cycling world. They were terrible. Okay.
How bad, Jason?
They were bad. Okay. And in 2003, they got this new coach, and he wasn't going to blow all his eggs in one basket. He was all about marginal improvement. 1% gain here, 1% gain here, 1% gain here, right? And so
give an example of the 1%.
Yeah, so they started eating just a little bit better. They got different pillows that let them sleep better. They tracked the temperature of some of their muscles when they were training to get it more into an optimal to a more optimal range. They even painted the insides of their van white, right? And why'd they do that? Because it allowed them to see the dust that was in the van that would inevitably get inside the bikes that would give them just a little bit less performance, right? And by the 2008 Olympics, they ran the table. They won 60% of the gold medals. Again, in 2012, ran the table. It was crazy. One of the biggest turnarounds in sports, all from doing tiny little things over and over and over again to get that 1% gain, that 1% gain, the 1% gain. That's what we're talking about, Garrett, tonight. That's what we're talking about. This is our lives here. And if we can get a little bit of gain here on our nutrition, we get a little bit of gain on our activities, we get a little bit of gain on our finances, we get a little bit of gain on our relationships with people, we get a little bit of gain from our reading and gathering information, we get a little bit of gain of gratitude. Boom! What a different life we live.
That is the best boom I've ever heard. I love it, Jason. Yes, that was good. That's better than Ric Flair boom.
Woo! There it is. So, that's why you and I love this book, and that's why we're dying to have this call tonight and make sure that we share what has changed our lives, what has reflected upon us. And every day is a challenge, right? Every day we got to keep moving towards it. Every day we got to keep progressing forward, just like that cycling example. And you're in a team, if you're in the Tandem Nutrition team, if you're watching this and you're not in there, get in that group, search for Tandem Nutrition Group, and get around a bunch of people that are thriving, that are active, that are energized, that are goal-focused to get you moving where you want to be.
Love it. You are on fire, Jason. You probably need to go to bed early tonight, because if not, you probably won't even sleep at all, man. Love it. Jason, I am so appreciative of your time, my man. Thank you for all your knowledge, for all your question answering, for answering my questions. And listen, this will not be the last time I have you on. So guys who are watching this, Jason and I, he doesn't know this yet, but we plan on doing another book review in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Of a book we're reading right now, maybe The Power of Moments.
Oh, okay.
And if you have suggestions, man, let us know.
Yeah, that's right.
We love books. Jason right now is reading 14 books right now.
Something like that. Yep. Like one of my mentors, Thomas Jefferson, would read tons of books all at one time, just kind of cycle through them. And so that's what I've done.
Yeah, so we'd love to chat. If there's a topic you want Jason and I or Jason to speak on, I'll gladly be the host again, ask questions. We'll have you jump on too. But thank you for your presence. Jason, thank you for being here, my man. We appreciate you. Thank you for all your knowledge, all your motivation, all your inspiration. Cannot wait till next time. And it was a great interview, man.
Thank you, sir, for organizing this. And thank you guys that are watching. You are a blessing to Garrett and I. You have done us a terrific favor. When we see those eyeballs on here, that gives us the energy to keep going. And so we're just so thankful that you've given us a little bit of your time tonight. Your time is very, very important, and you've chosen to share it with us. We can't thank you enough.
We really can. Thank you, guys. We look forward to next time. If you guys have any questions, drop in the comments. We will see you next time in 2 weeks on another topic review of another awesome book. So thank you for being here. Have a great night, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Good night, guys.
Bye-bye.